It is that time. We're going to go ahead and get started. So, I'm your host today. I'm Eric, and I'm going to guide you through Stop What's Draining You. But it's not just me. We have an entire team here at Kolbe that's going to take care of you. So, taking care of the chat, we have Lisa Steele, who's a 7752. And then Kolbe Corp behind that Kolbe logo is a real person too. That's Deani. And Deani's a 7725. So, between the three of us, we're going to take care of you. We're going to help you stop doing some of the things that are draining you. And we're going to give you some practical ways to lean into your natural strengths. As we go through this, our goal is to really help all of you. Again, like I said, reduce some of that stress, stop doing some of the things that are draining you, and giving you some of those helpful tips. If you have questions, if something doesn't make sense, go into the chat and chat. Ask a question. Either Dee or Lisa will answer you, or they're going to kick it over to me. But we want you to definitely walk away with something that's valuable and helpful from this session today. So, good. I'm Eric. I'm your facilitator today. I'm a 5392. If you know anything about Kolbe, you may know what to expect. If you don't know a lot about Kolbe, that's okay too. I'm going to describe what these results mean in just a little bit, but I'm a VP with us and I'm also one of our senior consultants. So, the best part of my job is I get to go out and I get to work with our clients at their client sites in their senior leadership team meetings, really apply this stuff on a day-to-day basis. And so some of the things I've learned from Kolbe, some of the things I've learned from working with our clients are what I'm going to teach you to implement today. It's all about, again, reducing your stress, getting rid of some of those frustrating things and leaning into your strengths. But I'm going to start with a quote by one of my favorite books, and it's my favorite quote inside of this book. And it's from The Five Rings from Miyamoto Musashi. And the quote is, "Do nothing which is of no use." So I love this quote. I ruthlessly try to get rid of things that are of no value, that don't have any use to me. Doesn't always work, right? I'm always trying to improve that and get better and get rid of more things, but I do my best. And what you'll find is as you try to get rid of stuff, you're going to have those little voices in your head. And I didn't do this intentionally. I just noticed as I was doing it, that as I was saying voices in my head, I was also kind of doing the crazy sign. So here's the thing. As you start trying to get rid of things, you're going to hear someone's voice. Maybe it was a teacher. Maybe it was your mom. Maybe it was a coach. It was your boss. And they're going to give you some excuse as to why that thing has value or how it helps you. Most of the time, that is not true, but I'm going to give you a framework for figuring out if it is of no use or if you do actually need to go and do it. All right, so let's start with an exercise. Hopefully, everybody has something to write with. It could be a pen, a stylus, a crayon, something, but I want you to grab that and I want you to grab something to write with or write on, like a piece of paper or your tablet. And I want all of you to simply print your first and your last name. All right, now what I'd like you to do is if you're right-handed, put that pen in your left hand. Or if you're left-handed, put that pen in your right hand. And now do the exact same thing just below, right? So now where you wrote it the first time, now print your first and your last name the second time, just with your non-dominant hand. So I've done this exercise a bunch of times in front of live groups, and when I can see folks' faces, when I can see their pieces of paper, often I see some disappointed looks, or I see some smiles because people are giggling because they wrote like a 5-year-old the second time through with their non-dominant hand. Right? It's a really simple task. We've all been writing our names since we were little kids, but simply moving from a strength to something that's not a strength, right? You got way worse results. It was a little bit more stressful. You probably had to lean over a little bit more. Maybe you crunched your forehead up a little bit more as you were doing that. So it was a little stressful, right? Is there any use in practicing writing your name with your non-dominant hand? Not really. And so I'm going to bet that most of you have not practiced writing with your non-dominant hand because it's no use. So you're kind of used to this thought of don't do things that are of no use, but other things that we learn, other teachings kind of creep in there and they override that. So what I want to get you to do is focus on leaning into the strengths that you have. And what I can tell you is that all of us have a whole bunch of strengths locked inside of us. And if you want to kind of break it down, there's three buckets of strengths or three parts of the mind where we have those strengths. The first part is the thinking or the cognitive strengths. These are things like your natural intelligence, skills, experience, education. You all know stuff, you've all learned stuff, and those are strengths that you put to work every single day. That second bucket of strengths is called the feeling or the affective part of the mind. Things like motivation, why you do the stuff that you do, values, personality, those all live in the affective part of the mind. Then the third part is the doing or the conative component. This is all about how you naturally problem solve or get things done. But what I know about all of you is you are all at your best when you get to lean in and use all three of those strengths together. Now, I wish we had enough time to talk about all of these strengths, but we're just going to focus on the conative strengths because that's our expertise at Kolbe. Is it valuable to know what your cognitive strengths are? 100%. Are there really good assessments out there that measure that? Absolutely. Same goes for the affect. There are lots of great assessments that measure affect, and you absolutely should know what your strengths are. That's just not what we do at Kolbe. What we really focus on is the doing or the conative part, how you naturally problem solve, how you get stuff done. What I can tell you is your conative strengths kick in when you're striving. So, if it's a random Sunday, you're hanging out on the couch watching a football game, you're probably not striving. But if it's a random Tuesday and your biggest client calls and says, hey, you need to fix this in the next 30 minutes, otherwise we're going to your competitor, you are absolutely striving to solve that problem. That's when your conative strengths are going to kick in. And again, with the conative strengths, what we're trying to figure out is how you will take action. So, the way that we measure that is pretty simple, right? And most of you already know this information because you put those four numbers in earlier, right? We measure it with the Kolbe A Index. If you've taken it and you're like, hey, I know I took that thing, but I don't remember my results, or I'd like to look this through this report again, but I don't know where to find it, go to kolbe.com/findmya. Again, kolbe.com/findmya, and that will help you look up your results. And we're gonna put this, we're gonna put that link into the chat there. So with the Kolbe A, like I said, we're measuring your conative strengths. What we're really trying to figure out is your MO, your modus operandi, how you get stuff done. And when you see the results, they always have those same four colorful bars. The red one called Fact Finder. It's all about gathering information. That blue one, Follow Through, is about organizing and designing. Then that green one, Quick Start, dealing with risk and uncertainty. And then finally that yellow one, Implementer, handling space intangibles. So all of us have these four strengths. So we all have those same four colorful bars. But as you noticed, we have different numbers. And the numbers are what identify where your particular strengths fall. So if you're a 2 in Fact Finder, awesome, that's an amazing strength. If you're a 9 in Fact Finder, awesome, that is also an amazing strength. So 1, 5, 10, anywhere in between, just know whatever your four numbers are, those are your four strengths. That's you at your best. However, you can flex and adapt. If let's say you're a 2 in Fact Finder, your natural strength is to simplify. If you need to get the job done, to kind of power through, can you specify? Can you dot every I and cross every T? Absolutely, you can flex for a little bit, but that's when stress really starts to pop up. So when you're at your best, if that's you just in your four numbers, leaning into those gifts that you have. And like I said, can you grit your teeth, suck it up, and power through to get more stuff done? Yes, absolutely you can. But what we know is everyone has a practical limit. There's only so much that you can suck it up and power through. Because eventually, if you continue to do that over and over and over, day after day, that's when burnout occurs, when you're constantly just working against your strength. And so, right, there's tons of articles. We've heard lots of stuff about burnout and all of that. And so, what a lot of folks do is then they overcorrect and then they go into, hey, I'm just going to do stuff that's more natural. I'm going to do stuff that feels good, stuff that lines up with my strengths. That sounds great in theory, But what we found is what it eventually leads to is unproductive freedom. I'm only going to do stuff that feels good, like I said. So let's take working out as an example. Should you work out 18 hours a day every single day of the entire year? Probably not. Even if you're training for the Olympics, those folks are not training that much, right? And so that's that burnout. So that's probably too much. But should you never work out ever? That's probably unproductive freedom, right? That's you got to find that healthy balance of in between. Where do we find that sweet spot? And that's true for things like working out. It's true for getting work done in the workplace. We want to find that healthy balance of sustainable performance where we're getting more stuff done, but we're doing it in a way that lines up with our talents. It's all about doing more naturally. And what I can tell you is the secret to doing more naturally is you. Whatever your four numbers are, that's how you unlock all of this extra productivity. That's how you can get more stuff done. And it feels amazing. And you feel like you're in the zone or you're in the flow state. So let's say we have a person and their results, their strengths are a 5.392. The short version of what to expect from them is they're just going to try stuff and experiment, see what happens. Then they're going to get enough information so that, they can tackle those critical tasks. They can, really log on to what's really important. Then they're going to flex and adapt things as needed. And then finally, they're going to envision solutions. If this person can do that all day, they're going to be a valuable member of the team. They're going to crush it. But what happens if they end up in a role like this? This role is, hey, look, you got to be very precise. You need to create systems, processes. You need to create step-by-step guides. Don't take any risks. We've already proven what's worked. So keep going with what's been working. And then finally, envision the solutions. So could the person on the left power through and suck it up to get the job on the right done? Yes, absolutely. For a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months. They really believe in the mission, the cause, the thing that they're working on. Maybe they could even stretch that out longer. But eventually, they're going to turn into this little guy here pulling his hair out because you can only work against your strengths for so long because it just continually drains your battery. So we instead want you to lean into the natural strengths that you have. So I'm going to give you a little bit of homework to help you unlock or help you figure out what are the things you should be doing more of, and what are some of the things that you should be doing less of or not doing at all. So that homework is I'm going to have you go to your Kolbe A results and take a look at pages 6 through 9. Because on pages 6 through 9, you're going to have each of those colorful bars. And then underneath it, you're going to have your do's and you're going to have your don'ts. And so what I want you to do is I want you through on each one of those pages, read through the do's, read through the don'ts, and I want you to circle one. Circle one that jumps out at you. Maybe it's something you need to do more of, or maybe it's something you need to stop doing or do less of. So we're looking at my results here. Something I need to stop doing is getting immersed in complexities, right? I need to push back against that because that's draining my energy. That's keeping me from being my best. So I'm not going to do that today. Like I said, that's some homework. Go back through your Kolbe A results, take a look at pages 6 through 9, and just circle either one of the do's or one of the don'ts on each page. That's part of how you're going to reduce your stress and lean into your strengths. Now, right, we want to be a little bit more practical because I know that that's, sort of vague or a little bit esoteric. We want to get like really hands-on. I want you to walk away with something tangible here. So I want you to grab your pens again, and I want you to write down the answer to this question. And the question is, what one or two tasks in your job frustrate you or cause you the most stress? So give you a few minutes. I want you to write down the answer to this question. So if you're willing, we'd love to hear from you in the chat. What is that task that causes you the most stress or frustrates you the most? So feel free to chat that into the chat box. Danielle, not able to complete a task. Yes, that is absolutely frustrating. I totally get that. Absolutely. Staying on top of email, project management, and tracking tasks. Yeah, absolutely. Managing your inbox. So we got two votes for email so far. Create meeting notes after a complex meeting. Yeah, awesome. So again, I've done sessions like this with thousands and thousands of people. Never once has there been a person that sat in those settings in one of those sessions and they had nothing, right? We all have something. That's okay, right? But it's an opportunity for us to improve, reduce some of our stress, get some things off of our plate. And so that's what we're going to work on today is, all right, what are some strategies or what are some things that you can do to reduce your stress, to minimize some of these tasks that frustrate us? And so the framework I'm going to give you is called delete, delegate, and do. So the next time a frustrating task falls in your lap or you're doing something, it's stressing you out, things like that, what I want you to do is first ask yourself, does it actually need to get done? You would be surprised if you take inventory of all the stuff that you do throughout the day, how much stuff does it actually need to get done? And so if it doesn't, delete it. And I think someone in the chat said, the hard part about figuring this out is discernment, what's actually needed, what's not. So, first thing, take a look and say, how is this benefiting our customers or how is this benefiting the team internally? Right? Again, sometimes we do things that don't benefit our customers and they don't benefit us, they don't benefit our internal customers. If you're doing that, have a conversation with someone else on your team. Maybe it's your boss, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's the people that work for you, and say, hey, what is the value of this? How are we using this report that we're running? Or how are we using the meeting notes? Something like that. If no one ever looks at the meeting notes, no one ever reads them back, then why do it? Don't stress yourself out, as an example, right? Kind of getting back to the do nothing, which is of no use. It is hard to identify those things, but there are lots of opportunities to shave off a few minutes here, shave off a few minutes there to give yourself more time and to reduce your stress, right? It's the holidays. So here's an example of, in real life. If let's say you have five people in your family, do you need to cook a turkey and four pies and green beans and a casserole and mashed potatoes and probably not. There's only five people, right? But we do it because it's a cultural norm. That's what we've done for years and years. We all know it's way too much food. So, all right, could we get rid of that? Or, there's lots of opportunities in your life to see there are things that aren't really benefiting us. Can we get rid of them? And look, that may be your tradition. It's really valuable to your family. Awesome. Then it is of use to your family. But if it's not, if no one really cares about all of those pies, then don't do it. Again, so that's a bit of the framework you can use to delete stuff. However, it's a fairly small percentage, right? There's some stuff you can get rid of, but for the most part, work still has to get done. So then you need to ask yourself, does it need to get done by me? All right, I can't delete it. It still has to get done. Am I the one that has to do it? Again, kind of create your own decision framework here. But a lot of times you'll be able to figure out you probably aren't the best person or the one that has to do it. And so, right, if let's say, right, again, it doesn't have to be done by you, then delegate it. For those of us that are leaders, effective delegation is not the stuff I don't feel like doing, I throw on someone else's desk. That's not effective delegation. Effective delegation is, hey, this thing stresses me out. It frustrates me, but it actually lines up with her strengths. You know what? It's a really great learning opportunity for him to learn about a different part of the business. I saw a question in the chat over there about what do you do if you're a solopreneur? Okay, there are definitely things that you can still delegate. Like quick examples, if let's say you spend a bunch of time going back and forth trying to schedule meetings. Hey, what about Tuesday at 10? Nope, that doesn't work. What about Wednesday at 5 or whatever? There are calendar apps, or you can just send someone a link. They can book a time that works for them, right? AI is getting more and more practical. It's becoming more and more useful. You can delegate some stuff to Grok or Gemini or ChatGPT, whatever your favorite one is, and they're getting more and more helpful with those things. So there are opportunities to delegate. However, again, the work still has to get done. You're probably not going to be able to delegate everything. You're still going to have to do some stuff. And so in those situations where, you know what, I still have to get it done, do it. Just do it in a way that lines up with your strengths. So this is what I mean by that. Let's say you have this frustrating task. You know it's going to be hard. All right. Is there someone I can get to help me with this, or can I partner with someone? As an example, if I need to create a step-by-step guide, or if I need to create a follow-up sequence for everyone that attends this webinar, and I need an email to go out here, and I need the recording to be edited here, and I need all of those steps. Could I suck it up, power through, and do all of those things? Yes, absolutely. But Diani is a 7725. She's awesome at that stuff. So we partner together on webinars like this, where I create the content, I get up and talk to all of you folks. She makes sure that everyone gets invited, you get all the links, everything kicks off on time, you get the follow-up emails, the recordings, all of that stuff. We partner together to get the work done. Because if she had to do it all by herself, she would be stressed out. If I had to do it all by myself, I would be stressed out. So we just work together on this. Another thing, technology solutions. I just gave you a couple of examples, right? The calendar link, use, your favorite AI chatbot to answer some questions for you, get some simple tasks done. And it's obviously becoming better and better at doing more and more complex things. What are some other things that you can do to do it in a different way? Use your time strategically. If you have something that you have to do, you're the only one with that level of access or the only one that can see this confidential information, something like that. Okay, do it, but just do it in short bursts. Do it for 10 or 15 minutes, then move on to something else. Then come back, do it for 10 or 15 minutes. What most of us do instead is you're like, hey, I know this thing's going to be hard. I'm going to close my office door and I'm just going to power through and suck it up for the next 2 hours. And then, like 20, 30 minutes in, your mind starts to wander, or right, your eyes start to cross a little bit. And so now you're going to spend another hour and a half powering through and not performing at that same level. Instead, just break it up into short chunks so you can consistently perform at that high level. Or consider the time of day. Some of us are early birds, some of us are night owls. If you have something really hard, see if you can tackle it when you have the most amount of energy. The last thing is what we call redirect your talent. So, whatever your four numbers are, just know you have to use that energy. You have to use that strength. So, I saw somebody earlier who's I think they had a 7 or an 8 in implementer. If you're an 8 in implementer and you work in an office job or you're kind of behind a computer working in spreadsheets all day, something like that, you have to use that aid and implementer somewhere. So, could you hang up holiday decorations around holiday time? When you get some new furniture in the office, could you take 20 or 30 minutes and put together that furniture to use your hands? Right? That's a way to use your talents still, or kind of volunteer for projects that fit with your MO. Or find creative outlets outside of work, right? Lisa Steele is a 7752. So she has a plan and she executes that plan fantastically. But if we didn't let Lisa create plans at Kolbe, then she would create the most amazing vacation because she would do all of her homework. She would know the best restaurants to go to. She would set up all the tours so that, we're picked up at this time or dropped off at this time. We hit all of the best places, the key places that we need to go in wherever we're visiting. She would identify all those and lay the plan out and then execute that plan. So, whatever your strengths are, just know you have to use them. If you can't use them at work, find a way to use them outside of work. All right, here's some other tips for redirecting your talent. If you're a 7, excuse me, if you're a 7 through 10 in Fact Finder, I would bet most of the time you feel as though you don't have enough information to make those critical decisions. So, what we recommend is come up with an 80% solution. When you have 80% of the info you think you need to make the decision, make that decision. And you're probably going to have to start super small, something that's almost inconsequential, right? Are we going to use black pens or blue pens? Unless you're in some highly regulated industry, it probably doesn't matter. So when you have 80% of the info, go with the blue. And then you can go with slightly more important decisions and then continue to move up with that 80% solution. If you're a 7 through 10 in follow through, your perfect day is you roll in, you lay out your plan for the day, you execute that plan, and no one interrupts you ever while you're getting your work done. The chance of that happening is just about zero, right? Unless you work entirely by yourself, you don't have any customers, you don't have any teammates, you don't have any vendors, you only work by yourself. So, in that scenario, you know you're going to get interrupted. Can you create little checkpoints or cut points inside of your project where you're going to get back to people? You're going to reply to those emails or those Teams messages. Or can you build in can you build in a little bit of extra time of, hey, I know stuff is going to go wrong, so I'm going to build in 30 minutes in the middle of the day and 30 minutes at the end of the day for things that could go wrong. If you're a 7 through 10 in quick start, we tend to put things off until the last minute. It's actually a strength. That's actually when we get our best work done. But what you need to do is sometimes play a little bit of a game with yourself and create urgent deadlines. If I'm a 9 in quick start, if I know something is going to take me an hour, I will put a 30 or a 45 minute appointment on my calendar. When that dings, I know I have to knock all that work out in 30 minutes or 45 minutes. I've compressed the time and I get it done because I've created that deadline for myself. If you're a 7 through 10 in implementer, right, and you need to present something to the board or to a potential client, something like that, how can you create a scale model, right? If I'm talking about planes, how do I grab a little plane like this to describe what it is that I'm talking about? How do I create something tangible, a prototype to describe what it is that I'm trying to present, what I'm trying to pitch to you? So these are just ways that you can redirect your talent. Because again, 1, 5, 10, anywhere in between, they are all strengths. The more you can lean into it, the better the results are going to be. However, what I can tell you, because I've been doing this for 10 plus years, and at Kolbe, we've been doing this for 50 years, is there are going to be some times where you feel like you're just kind of beating your head against the wall. You're stuck. It feels like nothing is working. Our founder, Kathy, had this amazing phrase, and she said, do nothing when nothing is working. And, there are different variations of do nothing. Sometimes do nothing could literally be like lay on the floor and, count the ceiling tiles. That's do nothing. It could be, zone out and watch mindless TV. That's a version of do nothing. Something else you can do is recreation, right? Could you go for a walk? Could you go play a sport, go fishing, go gardening, things like that to kind of recharge your batteries. Another example is, re-energizing. So there are things that recharge all of us, and it's individual. For some folks, it's going outside, getting some fresh air, getting some sunshine on your face. For me, when I feel like I'm kind of beating my head against the wall, I will either go quickly jump in the ice bath or I'll play with my dog for like 2 or 3 minutes. Just that kind of breaking it up, doing something mindless. I then come back and I'm like, oh, I got it. Now I know how to solve this problem. So, right, again, we're all going to run into those times, even if you use these tips where you feel like you're stuck. That's okay. Pause, take a few minutes, go do something else, then come back to it. So when you all signed up for this webinar, we asked you, the normal stuff, name, email address, but then we also wanted to know like, hey, what's your interest in this webinar? Or, what are some questions you would like to have answered? And so I went through and I looked for, reoccurring themes. Like what were the questions that people asked over and over and over again? And while you asked it in slightly different ways, roughly what a lot of folks said is, what happens when I'm at work and I'm unable to use my Kolbe strengths? It's going to happen. Even at Kolbe, there are times when myself, Deani, when Lisa, when we have to work against what our natural strengths are, even though we teach this stuff, we do this stuff all the time. So in those situations, go back to that framework, right? Delete, delegate, do. Ask yourself, does this thing actually have to get done? Most of the time, the answer is yes, but there are those situations where it's useless. So get rid of it. And I see Lisa has a question, so go for it, Lisa.
Robin James asked the question, so if someone is a low number for a quick start, what to do?
So I need to know what your other numbers are, Robin, because without getting too complicated, find your highest number and I'm gonna help you with that one. 8733. Perfect. So for you, right, your highest number is that 8 in Fact Finder. We're going to go back here. So for you, that your low number, your 3 in Quick Start, means you identify some risk. You see some stuff that could go wrong. How do you get 80% of the information you need to solve that problem? Right? How do you do a little bit of homework, do a little bit of due diligence, and say, all right, I'm at least 80% sure this is the right answer, then move forward. So that's how I would use it. Again, without getting too complicated, look at your highest numbers. Then you can use this sheet as your guide. Great question. So again, kind of going back to what happens when you can't use it at work. It's okay. It's going to happen. Use that delete, delegate that. Apparently, I can't talk this morning. Delete, delegate, do framework. Use that. Also, refer to pages 6 through 9 in your Kolbe A. It's the homework I gave y'all, right? It's do more of these, do less of these. As you do that, right, that weight on your shoulders, that stress is going to start to melt away. That's where you're going to feel like you're in the zone, you're in your flow state. So I know that there are more questions. Robin, that was a great question. Thank you for that. So we're going to open it up. So if you have questions, things you want to learn more about reducing stress, including productivity, we're happy to help. That's what we're here for. So go ahead and chat your questions into the chat box. Ah, Lori, I see. There we go. All right. 6545. Seems like I don't have any real strengths. So, Lori, I will tell you that is the exact opposite. So, 6545 is an amazing strength in and of itself because all of your numbers are in the middle. So, what your gift is you look at someone, let's say, pushing this way in that 7 to 10 range, and you look at someone pushing this way in that 1, 2, and 3 range and you find common ground between both of those two and you say, you know what, if we take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and we come together, here's how we solve that problem. You are the ultimate team player. You just need others to react to. So my best advice to you, Lori, is don't work by yourself. Work with others, react to the directions that they're pushing, find the common ground so we can all get this thing done. All right, Mindy, how do I resolve this conflict as an 8, 6, 2, 3? My 8 prompts me to do all the research, even if I follow the 80% guidance versus the do for my implementer score, which decisions I make without having. Uh, so tangible, you're kind of think of it this way. So tangible evidence, I know gravity is a real thing, right? Because I'm standing on the ground. If I drop this plane, it's going to fall to the ground, right? So that's tangible evidence. Also, tangible evidence is I feel pretty good, right? You could argue it's a little bit subjective, but you know when you feel good, you know when you don't feel bad. So I would still count that as tangible evidence. Um, when we're talking about implementer, we mean literally more the physical thing. The me dropping this on the ground is the tangible evidence. So, really, for you, get the research, do your homework to 80%, then make the decision. All right, tennis, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name. What's the best way to know who, what Kolbe style can support me or help more? I'm a 4-7. So basically, who should you work with is kind of what I get from that tennis. So my advice is you can work with anybody, but you can get guidance on how to work with them more effectively. First thing you need to do is get them to take a Kolbe A result or take a Kolbe A because you need to know what their strengths are. Once you know what their strengths are, we can create a report for you that gives you guidance and it will say, hey, when you're working with this person, do these things and avoid doing these other things. So it's called the comparisons 8A. Really simple report once the other person has it, but that's a great place to start. How do I solve conflict, Macy? So refer back to what I said to the person, who was it? So what I said to Lori earlier, uh, same thing for you, who for the person who has and to Macy. So same results. Let's see what else we got here. So Wim, if you are high in quick start, why do you need to play with deadlines? Does it not mean we naturally get into fast action? No. So quick start actually has nothing to do with speed. It's about dealing with risk and uncertainty. So those tight deadlines give us the risk of this may not get done. That time compression, it kind of supercharges us. That's where we come up with our best ideas. We start brainstorming all kinds of things. It's the risk that it may not get done is what throws us into action. It's nothing to do with speed. So Robin, so best to hire someone new to the team with higher numbers and quick start and implementer if the team numbers are low there. It depends. And part of what it depends on is what are the requirements of that job, right? Like you got to look and say, how does that role need to get done? Then we can see, does that person match it? What you also need to look at is how well are they going to work with their boss? Yes. Is it great to complement each other and have, very different Kolbe results? Yes. However, right, it's going to create a lot of friction. And so what we've actually done is we've created a tool that helps you build a model for the job. And it combines how the job needs to get done with how the boss does things. Those two things together then help you identify what you need for the job. Then you can figure out, hey, does this candidate match the model or not? It's called Right Fit. If you want to know more, you can reach out to Lisa or reach out to our team at info@kolbe.com.
Eric, I also put something in the chat.
There we go. Yeah. So Lisa put a link to learn more about our hiring tool called Right Fit in there. Simple version is we build a model for a job and then we objectively measure candidates and say, hey, yes, they're a really good fit, or no, not a very good fit, or somewhere in between. So earlier I mentioned, right? Whatever your four numbers are, that's you at your best. Those are your strengths. 1, 5, 10, all of your numbers are strengths. However, right, it can be challenging if you have to work against those strengths all day long. So your strengths are amazing. They just may not be the right strengths for that role because we don't want to put you in stress. We don't want you writing with the opposite hand all day long. It's part of why we created that model called Right Fit. Um, so Josh, essentially you're saying, hey, can I apply these numbers to individual tasks? Sort of. I'll give you kind of broad generalities. If you want to learn more, we can help you with that. But as an example, I need to create a step-by-step guide. I got to do 1, 2, 3, 4, right? I'm creating a new SOP inside of our organization. I'm going to grab someone like Lisa or like Diani because they both have a 7 in follow through. 7 through 10s in follow through naturally create systems, processes. The challenge is very few roles are a singular task. So you have to look at what are all of the tasks done in this job and find that right combination. But if you need help kind of picking those things off, get with us. We can definitely help you with that, Josh. So Robin has a question. What's the cost to have Kolbe help with hiring? Yeah, so the fact that you have a job description, awesome. We have a system where you basically take another assessment. It take you like 10 minutes. And then from there, it's going to draw from you in Kolbe language. What does this job need? And then our system will create the model for you. The cost is going to vary depending on if it's a single role, if you're hiring a whole bunch of people. So there are lots of variables. But if you connect with our team, Robin, we can definitely help you get that set up. So I'm just going to leave you with this final thought. And it's again from the Book of the Five Rings, which is if you know the way broadly, you will see it in all things. What I mean by that is we primarily talked about a work focus, right? How do you do this, in your 9 to 5, if you have a 9 to 5 kind of job? How you do it at work? What I can tell you is leaning into your strengths is applicable in your regular life as well. When you're working with your kids, when you're trying to help them with their homework, they have natural strengths. You have natural strengths. If you lean into your natural strengths and you help them tap into their natural strengths, school is going to be better for them. If you have a sister that's trying to find a new job, well, your sister has natural strengths. You can help her find a new job by leaning into her natural strengths. Or, right, it's New Year's resolution time. If you want to quit smoking or get healthier or whatever it is, leaning into your strengths will help you in those endeavors as well. So, not just a work application, you can use it in your entire life when you understand what you're amazing at and how to use those strengths to your advantage. So, we're going to hang out for a couple more minutes. We're going to answer some questions, but I want to say thanks to all of you that joined us this morning. If I don't talk to you before then, have a fantastic holiday season, a Merry Christmas, a great New Year's, all of that stuff. But again, thank you. And if there's anything we can do to help, please let us know.